So the second exercise that I showed you today for your shoulder rehab was the row. We just covered the pull down exercise, and that's always a nice one to start. This is another pull exercise, but this one here, the plane is coming straight into your body. So Sean's going to demonstrate a row. You're going to use a neutral handled bar. Notice that Sean's hands are in a neutral position. He's not with his palm down or supinated with his palm up. He's got neutral. That sets the humeral bone in a nice neutral position. So notice what happens to my shoulders if I turn my hands. As a lot goes on, my elbows rotate out, my humeral bone rotates outward, and it changes the dynamic of the shoulder. The shoulder is much freer in the front, and it also loves to be in that neutral position down. That's because the greater tuberosity that sits in the back side of your humeral bone is a big chunk of bone with a lot of your rotator cuff muscles that attach to it, and it gets rotated into that subacromial space when we start to turn our hands over. So it's important you know some of the anatomy of this here. So this is a neutral posture. So you're going to squat down and do that hip hinge squat like we showed earlier. Yep, down lower. Now step away so that you have some space to do the pull right there. Keep your chest upright. Now do the pull. Also, I want you to focus on the elbows coming backward, and you're pinching gently, you're pinching your shoulder blades without shrugging your shoulders. So Sean's doing here some of the common things that happen when you try to do a row. We're going to split hairs here because we don't want a shrugging effect, and we don't want you to do it all with your arms. This exercise can be performed almost entirely with my biceps, which would do nothing for my shoulders, and it also could be performed wrong if I have my angle of my cable wrong, and it can also be performed wrong if I'm shrugging and I'm lifting my shoulders up towards my ears when I'm performing this exercise. So keep in mind these three variables here. No shrugging, no all biceps, and keep the cable at the right level. Go ahead, Sean. Yeah, and now he's doing it nice. Also, fluidity of motion. Select the proper weight so that you're not tugging or straining. This can be turning into a weight training exercise later on. But right now we're dealing with shoulder rehab, and we're trying to get a shoulder to work properly. So it's important that weights be very light, way lighter than you're able to do in a non-injured state, and nice and fluid. Get these elbows and chest out at the end of the motion. So you want to draw those elbows back, and you want to stick that chest out so that your scapular retraction is taking place and you're moving your shoulder blades back towards your spine as you're completing this motion. And this is the seated row, also for shoulder rehab. Posterior capsule stretch and movement patterns are restored here for your humeral bone and way it articulates with the glenoid fossa of your shoulder blade.